Hi, welcome back to the, I guess, kind of unofficial Grey Works Talk podcast. You're joined by half of the Sinister Six. I am the Grey Goblin, Michael Hegwood. I am joined today by two very special guests, Josh from Afternoontune and Lamar Cherraime from the creator of Captain Zero, an upcoming indie superhero animation series. Josh, what have you been doing lately?
We've been posting videos up on YouTube now, youtube.com, Afternoontune. We just recently posted a video right there of our worst of. Our best of is going to be also coming up there. We're also going to be doing our most anticipated thing for 2024. That video is going to be coming up pretty soon. Review-wise, our latest review, we just reviewed Night Swim. We reviewed that horror movie that came out. And then this Friday, we're going to be doing the movie American Fiction, which starred Jeffrey Wright. That.
Yeah, my buddy Mac, he said that might be like his favorite movie of last year. But I see you're also talking about what was it, the Blood Honey?
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey. Yeah, this was on our worst of list. I think this was on all of our worst of lists.
Yeah, it did look good, man.
Yeah, so this was pretty bad. And they're doing more of these. They're doing like a Pinocchio one. They're going to be doing a Bambi one. They're going to be doing a Mickey Mouse one.
It's just cheap to make. And Lamar, you are the creator of the upcoming animated superhero series, Captain Zero.
Yes.
Very cool stuff. Very cool news. All that stuff with Keith David as of late. It's one of those things. I've been doing my own SAG paperwork, but it's a lot of paperwork.
It's a lot of paperwork.
It's a lot of paperwork. I get it. I'm there for actors. I'm there for animators, but also starring in this is going to be Keith David, who is going to be kind of loosely connected to Spider-Man because he was one of the voice actors in particular Spider-Man. It's just one of those things of like needing kind of like just a cooler old man voice. It's like the voice choices are like Keith David, Ron Perlman, or J.K. Simmons. Pretty much. So kind of done the business. Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 4 recently came out. My friends have been talking to me about it. I haven't played it yet, but I did play the original Spider-Man PS4 game as well as the DLC extra game, Miles Morales game, whatever you want to call that. Not technically a sequel, but and that kind of reminded me of like Spider-Verse. I rewatched Spider-Verse, and Spider-Verse came out like it was actually set around Christmas and like New Year's Eve, and so it's like I like Spider-Man. Let's talk about Spider-Man. It's just because I say my relationship with Spider-Man is just like he's a lot of people don't know this because I'm more of like my writing history has been more like fantasy and like horror, but I'm a fairly big superhero fan, and Spider-Man is just one of those characters that's just kind of very easy to love, kind of. And then when this, and like, it's one of those things that's, it's kind of like Ninja Turtles for me, of like almost every iteration has just something to love. And it's just like when you get into it, like, you'll put it off for a while, then you'll get into it again, like a show or a movie. It's so many versions, and you just kind of come back to it. It's just like, I really, really love this. What's your guys' relationship with Spider-Man? Josh?
Relationship with Spider-Man, I've basically seen, I think, all Spider-Man movies there is, live-action-wise, animated-wise. Read the comics before. I'm trying to read more on Miles Morales, his run. I've heard from some people different runs where he's in there, which is the best to read. But it's been kind of interesting seeing Miles Morales kind of come up. And I mean, I was trying to think of like who's probably had the similar level of success being like another version of a legacy character, and I can't.
Closest you can kind of make would be Barry Allen, because a lot of people, know him as the Flash. But like, if I can very slightly get into it, just like the kind of Miles Morales has kind of maintained a status as something like a lot of legacy or even like kind of sidekick characters never really achieved. Of just like kind of usually, like, if this was their thing, he'd just be kind of forgotten. The thing was, when he first appeared, I believe that like comics kind of like have a standard sale for the most part, and like even like very well done comics don't sell like that many comics. They sell like 200, like 200,000, I think is like the average, or like something that's considered pretty good. And then Miles, but like his initial run just kind of like shot through that when he was first introduced. But kind of sadly, despite like after his initial introduction, he didn't like as a run, especially the Bendis run. He kind of didn't get a ton of play, and like a lot of people kind of ditched the characters, kind of because I'm going to say this. I think Michael Bendis is a very, very sweet man, but I'm kind of mixed on him as a writer because a lot of his characters can kind of come off as dull, or he wants to tackle some subjects that he's not as well versed of. But
I know what you mean.
I mean, there's like three things to talk about, like, but yeah, Miles was initially like he was considered a very like interesting like breath of fresh air because like when he came out, like not only does he have like unique abilities from Peter, but like he kind of started to be like, oh, this is going to be like his own thing, and kind of sadly, he just kind of for like 4-ish years, he just kind of stayed in stasis. Like he would just team up with like other superheroes. He would just kind of be like a average kind of quiet kid. He was basically Peter 2.0. And then Spider-Verse came along that showed like, no, Miles can be a very cool, fun character, and it was this brand new animation style and like a tribute to all things Spider-Man and all that stuff that it just made the character super popular, and he just kind of shot through. Something I have noticed though, with some of my friends who knows Miles from like Spider-Verse and have tried to get into his other stuff, like I remember my friend like texted me when he was like playing the Miles Morales games, like, why is Miles such a wimp in this? Like, why is he such a blank piece of wood, like personality wise? It was one of those things because Spider-Verse is kind of considered like almost like the true like definer of Miles, as well as like a lot of Spider-Man stuff. But he is getting better runs, I should say, as of like he has been having more of a personality, and even very slightly, he's been getting his own rogues gallery. He has like 3 original, but like that's a big step for a superhero. Yeah, Lamar, what are your thoughts on Miles and Spider-Man stuff like this, or just Spider-Man in general?
So for me, I'm more of a film television person. I've never read too many comic books. Like I've definitely read a couple, but not any specifically of like Miles. I've read a couple of Spider-Man comics. So my I knew of Miles' introduction when he was first introduced in Ultimate Spider-Man because it was like a really big thing. It was like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, everyone.
So, yeah. That definitely piqued my interest. But I really, really started to get interested in Miles when, Into the Spider-Verse came out, which still to this day I will say is a perfect movie. I still have Into the Spider-Verse ranked higher than Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, me too.
We'll
get to that later.
Yeah, for story and thematic reasons. But yeah, no, that was so I would really say that like Into the Spider-Verse was my first kind of like real in-depth to Miles' character and his personality. And I really, really like that characterization of Miles and his current iteration as well. So yeah, that's kind of to the extent of my knowledge about Miles and his work.
Yeah, obviously the TV stuff is kind of how like we have Michael when he's like I grew up like I was 9. I was like I would watch the TV, but I would try to like get into the comics. I remember I got so mad when I found out that in the comics, Virgil, his name is Static in the comics. I'm like, it's so
it's not the name.
It's Static Shock.
It's called Static Shock, but that's not the name of the character.
Yeah, it's not the name. But yeah, I kind of grew up from that, and yeah, it's like it's really interesting how all of these shows and movies have been like being able to influencing kinds of characters and stuff like that. And when Spider-Verse came along, it certainly did not create this animation style of like mixing 2D and 3D that's been around for like ages. And we've even seen stuff like I'd say like Miles and Peter style of animation of like kind of like a but it was never really done to this extent at this point yet. And so that was another thing that just like kind of shot through. And that trailer that came out that kind of just got everyone hooked.
Yeah, no, that trailer's got to be like top 5 trailers of all time. To be honest, like I can't think of another time. Well, I mean, I could think of a few, but like,
well, yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. Only a few other times where like a trailer like that really moved me. Like, there's the Into the Spider-Verse trailer. There's like the Avengers Endgame trailer. There's like, dang,
yeah,
Madam Web, that trailer.
Oh yeah, the world stopped when Madam Web dropped. Oh god, that CW looking iteration of Spider-Man. I'm like, what's happening here? I like the suits, beautiful gowns, Like the suits.
It's a team of three superhero ladies, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that's also kind of sad because it's like I actually really like. Well, maybe not the concept, but I really like the idea of a movie that has all of these other Spider Women in it. I really like that idea. I just, from the looks of it, it doesn't.
I would watch it if the person that cast as Madam Web was like an actual old woman, but everyone else was like young and fit. Like cast an old lady.
Yeah, somebody suggested Jamie Lee Curtis would have been good.
Maybe. But yeah. Spider-Verse was just one of those movies that came out and just like everyone saw and just kind of has like universal praise, and then just kind of re-centered why people love the character of Spider-Man just so much. You know what I also really like about this movie, and something I've complained about to death when it comes to like kind of more modern superhero movies, it doesn't treat you like you're dumb or that you don't know the character of Spider-Man.
Yeah, it goes in assuming all of those things.
Oh yeah, and you even get the origin like a little bit and stuff like that. It's like, well, yeah, you already know the story. Here's what happened, but it's like even if you don't get that origin, that's why it's still such a cool thing. It's just like, bam, we're just going along with the action. It's just the character of Spider-Man. It's just like you don't need to see like Batman's parents get shot again in the street. Just like skip it. Stuff like that. And
like the comic book rundown idea was like a genius way to convey to the audience, like, okay, like here's all the stuff that you know. All right, boom. Now we're just gonna jump right into it.
Honestly, I say the only movie that was like more like as overall stylized as Spider-Man was probably like Edgar Wright's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World movie. It's everything can do it. It even has kind of like the animatic comic thing. After that, I think one of the reasons why it also works so much is because it brought so much to the character of both Peter being allowed to basically be an adult and kind of almost complete his arc with it ending up with him marrying Mary Jane, and he's in his 40s and stuff like that. But then it's also it just gave so much kind of character to not only Miles, but kind of his environment in general. Just New York itself feels like an actual city, an actual place. It feels like a real Brooklyn, because this was kind of an issue I had with when I played the Miles packed in the Insomniac games. It was that it's gonna sound me, but New York was a bit too nice, a bit too idealized. Everything just super positive. Here, yeah, no one's gonna be as mean as they would be in real life New York, but it's it treats you like he's an outsider in this preppy smart kid school and stuff like that. And he doesn't really fit quite as home with his dad and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's one of those things. It's he kind of has that kind of. Now I know I'm kind of stepping back a bit. He's kind of a good another version of kind of more Peter Parker, because Peter Parker is very relatable, especially back in the day. Now Miles is kind of he's relatable, but in his own way, especially to much larger generation, comic writers and stuff like that. Yeah, you it's when you find out the origin behind every comic writer from that area who wrote Spider-Man. It's like, oh, this is why all these characters are like this. It's like, yeah, and that was also something that got a lot of praise from this movie. Was kind of like the more acknowledgement of like the Jewish roots when it came to Spider-Man. So, like even the fact that like when Peter B. Parker, I think, got married, you see him like smashing the glass.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Because it's always kind of been a thing, but like, especially of that time, I even remember some like writers and like big, even like talk show hosts would even like change their last names because they're like, your last name is too Jewish, it sounds too ethnic. You got to go with something else. Larry King also had that. I think his name was like Motzwitz or something, and he got told by someone it's like too ethnic, stuff like that.
Crazy.
Jon Stewart. I think the same thing with him. He changed.
Funny enough, my dad's mom did that because when she was in England, she had she was Polish and she had a Polish last name, and like she just got like, I'm not sure if it was harassed or she wouldn't get hired, but she's like, screw it, I'm changing it, and then she went to America.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but yeah, but now we have Miles, who just has like a great like representation of like his family life. He just feels like an actual kid, and you do kind of get like kind of the outsiderness a bit of like both being just from like his dad's a cop and his like his uncle's just kind of distant and lets him relax when he gets there. He's an actual character on like the comics, but he's just kind of a psychopath at first. What were some like you guys first saw? What were some highlights or praises that you had for the movie?
Man, well, obviously, off rip, the visual animation style is the most captivating. I mean, even right from the credits, from you seeing, the Spider 52, the Comics Authority Code, all of that, like right away, it really, really gets you with those visuals. So that really stunned me. As a writer, the part that was probably one of the most intriguing to me, even now when I go back and I've rewatched it, is just how captivating that very first scene is when you're seeing the other Peter Parker, the Peter Parker in Miles' universe, dying, and essentially like telling Miles, like, you have to do this, like, do this for me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, it happens like 10 minutes into, watching it. And I'm like, in such a short span of time, they already pull you in, like, so great with the character in the world, and you automatically get invested. And that's something that I've always really, really loved. Anytime I go back to revisit that movie, that still sticks out to this day. Another thing is, to your point of what you were saying, the characterization of Uncle Aaron. Very often the Prowler in comics, in his specific way that he's described, he's more of a loose cannon versus, in this version, actually giving you a more grounded, fully well fleshed out like character, even though, we do find out, like, oh my God, spoiler alert, but Uncle Aaron is, the Prowler. Still, there is this very interesting dynamic that we see between between Miles and Uncle Aaron. Like, the very scene where he finds out that Miles is the Spider-Man that he's been chasing after, and how immediately, like, his entire demeanor changes, and you see that he was quite literally going to let Miles go until he's shot and killed by Kingpin.
You get the sense that like he's just like not like even like that bad of a bad guy, like still a bad guy, but like kind of like you can see like his path possibly going down a different route, but like it just probably got him so much money, and it was just probably easier for him to do, and like he probably felt he was too far gone. But yes, I love that scene of like his last talk with him and Miles, like as he like rests him down. The one that made a lot of people cry in the theaters.
Oh my God, though, you're the best of us, Miles. Man, Mahershala Ali. But oh my God, yeah, no, stellar performance. That part was amazing. Like, yeah, the heart of that movie. Like, I still say to this day, like, that movie came out in like 2018.
Yeah, a long time ago, like 5 years ago.
2018, right? Crazy. We were in a different world then. But like, I remember when that film came out and I saw it in theaters like 4 times. I was like, this film is deserving of like a Best Picture nomination.
Yeah, actually, it's funny enough. Wreck-It Ralph 2 came out the same year, and Disney was so confident it was going to win. Actually made advertisements for Wreck-It Ralph 2, like on the box, like the best Oscar winner or something like that. It was an animation winner. But then Spider-Verse came out and won. It's just like, goddamn.
Oh my god. No question. Like, that film has, like, I literally consider it a perfect movie because it has everything a film should have. It has great character, great action, great visuals, great editing. It's got heart, it's got humor, it's got drama, it's got action. It's got, like, everything you could want in a movie, it has. And it delivers on all those things. It fires on every single cylinder.
It's got Nicolas Cage as a 1930s detective.
It's like, come on, man. Like, what more? Like, unless you got Beyonce somehow, like, that's the only way you could have made it better somehow. But like, it's like, no, like they did a phenomenal job.
Oh, not that she's in it, Beyonce, but like, that's also like, I've never seen a superhero movie utilize music like this, at least to the same extent. Closest would be like kind of Guardians, but that's done in like a different manner. Here it's just like, but also like everyone knows that What's Up Dangerous scene. Everyone knows even just the scenes of just like Miles walking around is just like so incredible. Josh, what kind of like what stuck out to you when you saw this movie?
So you talking about both of them? You want me to talk about both, or just across?
Either or, just like the big thing.
I'll start with Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse first. So yeah, I mean, hugely, big task by the animators there to do this, to animate all these different styles there, bringing the character Miles Morales, him be the lead of it, really carry the story. I thought that was really good. I think a lot of people remarked that this is probably where he's the most interesting, you know what I mean, as opposed to video games or the comics. I mean, this is probably where the best they've done with him as a character. So I thought that was really good. I think, the other Spider-Men, the other Spider-People are good, and that's a nice addition, but I still think, they do a good job even with all those extra characters. And something that now in superhero media is kind of overdone now, the whole alternate universe, timelines, and cameo characters. It's like, this feels like, this doesn't, like, the cameos aren't what you're there to really see the movie for. That's just icing on top.
Yeah.
The story and the writing and Miles Morales, I think, is what you're really there for, and see his journey there. And the other fun Spider-Man, like across the Spider-Verse, new Spider-Man that people can love, like Spider-Punk, got a lot of attention. This one
might have been my favorite from the second movie.
I love him. I have so many critiques for Across the Spider-Verse, but that one, I'm like, no, that was perfect. Yeah, Hobie Brown, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. He feels like a character that could have been like really annoying. But it's like, I don't know if it's like the voice actor or the writing or
the execution. But my God, like and when you think about it, if you look at all of his lines, it's like, it's not that much. Yeah. He's not that prominent in it, but like, man, talk about a scene stealer. Like,
I do kind of wonder though if they had to put like an epilepsy warning or something screens, just because I was thinking of like some scenes in Spider-Verse 2, especially like kind of Hobie scenes, because he's always like changing colors a bit and stuff like that. It's like, man, I hope no one got hurt watching this movie. Such as like characters, but also like, as you mentioned, Josh, all the extra cameos and stuff like that, like the other Spider people. I remember kind of a complaint in like, I'm not sure if it's like Marvel or DC, just like, general stuff. It's just like, because I haven't seen The Flash, but like they're saying like it's kind of like they're almost like putting it out there too much, and it's just like, it's whatever. Like the cameos are just there to get people in seats. But in Spider-Verse, a lot of the cameos are more characters from like all the extra Spider-Verse people. It's more done to introduce different plot lines. All that. And then the end joke of Spider-Verse is literally a cameo joke, but you don't mind it because it's like well, if we don't get in there Spider-Verse thing, like this is good enough. Like it's just like a fun thing of like showing back to the 60s show.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's been around for a long time. Stuff like that. Then Spider-Man Spider-Verse 2 came out. I know that stuff. Was it the most successful? No, it was the Mario Bros. I was thinking of all the list of like the top 10 like anime movies that like made it big. Like did it make the most money? Like I wouldn't be shocked if it did. But yeah, Spy-Verse 2 came out and like just was like one of the huge sellers of 2023. The only movies I think beat out like financially stuff like Barbie and like Mario Bros. And
I think did The Little Mermaid?
No,
that one barely.
Guardians did better.
That was weird.
Yeah. I know Guardians did better.
Oppenheimer did better.
Okay, yeah. I'm also trying to think of the animation budget and stuff like that.
Yeah, the budget for this one was it 90 or 100? I should look it up. I'm guessing.
Yeah. It does kind of show like even though everyone's like I'm tired of superheroes, I don't want to see like a Marvel movie or an MCU or a new Flash movie. Spy-Verse came out, it just like everyone's like, no, I want to see this, and it shows that like not only is kind of the character like mental of Spider-Man just so likable that people see that, but it's also like no, these are good on their own as well, and they're like they don't have to be connected. And I will say I have more issues with this than the other Spy-Verse movie, but like it's like I do like the risk that it took compare it to I don't know, kind of like the more big grand scheme stuff.
I will always reward any filmmaker, any creative for taking a risk. You know, that is definitely something that's missing in a lot of modern media, actually trying to push the envelope. So respect to the filmmakers for definitely taking a lot of risks in this film. And I think a good chunk of those risks paid off, you know? Not all of them, but a good chunk of them.
Yeah, this movie certainly has a somewhat divisive second half. I would say spoilers, but I know if you're watching this, you've seen Spy-Verse. Everyone in America has seen Spy-Verse. But yeah, with kind of the stuff of the Spire Society, as well as Miguel, as well as how it kind of does canon events, which has got what people kind of upset or like they thought it was kind of weak of like every Spider-Man just kind of following Miguel's orders. They came to like Miles' dad must die and stuff like that. However, I think my kind of big problem also kind of comes from I do feel like the second, like a lot of the there's so much characters and so much stuff in this movie. I don't think they're as well utilized as they were in the first one, or brought to their full potential. Like Jessica Drew, like barely has like stuff to do in this movie, and she has like 6 like poster cards about her. It's the production of this movie was insane.
Oh yeah, I mean, I even know all the production stories of various things that were going on making this movie. My hope is that the animators get better treatment on beyond the stories. But no, I definitely agree with that point. I think that Into the Spider-Verse, they did a far better job of integrating the other Spider people and making their stories just as interesting, while also still having Miles at the center. For me, my biggest gripe with Across the Spider-Verse is it seems like we're getting all these other characters shoehorned in. They're not as developed with the exception of Gwen, and Miles is kind of taking a backseat to his own story.
Yeah, I think that was kind of
feels like what is happening here. Like, this is supposed to be about Miles, his world, his journey, and it seems like he's literally in competition with Gwen for, whose story is this really for the second one. And don't get me wrong, everything with Gwen, I loved, especially all of the scenes in Gwen's world, the way they utilize color. Absolutely gorgeous. But from a storytelling perspective, it just kind of feels like, I don't know, I feel a little cheated as an audience member, because the thing that made me love these movies was the fact that, like, we're getting to see Miles' story. And when we get to Across the Spider-Verse, it's like, it's kind of Miles' story. It's like a little bit of his story, but it's also kind of Gwen's story. So that was a little like,
I do feel like the 2 antagonists, I don't think they're bad, but I do think they are kind of like not fully utilized the way they should be. Spot like kind of like presenting him as like a joke villain or a villain of the week, or just like something being made fun of. I don't think they really accentuate that as much as like why. I get why Spot would be as Splinter, but I feel like he should have been like kind of almost like instead of having a montage of like Miles like punching other villains, where he's like doing his like okay one more time. I think it should have just been like a montage of him just humiliating Spot. Because I really like Spot kind of going on like a train arc. It's like I need this stuff, but I feel like his relationship with Miles is almost like nebulous. And Miguel, I think I would like his arc kind of character more if either like Miles pushed more like against him personally. Like I wasn't one that did that to you or stuff like that. So, if like he was more in the movie as like an overlooked threat, because I rewatched not too long ago. I still really like it, but like once it goes from like Miles talking and then Gwen enters, it kind of becomes like a different movie. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. Josh, was there any things you thought were weaker, or do you think it was like way stronger than the first one? Or
when we did the review for it, I remember saying comparing it to the first one and how does it stack up against it. I think basically it is on par with the first one. I think the only difference is it's not. We don't know, it's not a really complete story there yet. Even though I think it does have an ending. It's a part one of another, story. So part two is coming to it to wrap it all up. So you have to see how they're going to handle that and what they're going to do with those elements and how they're going to tie everything up and finish everything off. So I will say that is kind of one criticism there. Even though I don't have a problem with the ending, I know some people, I could kind of see that complaint of like going like it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
Did you hear about the thing with the animators that came out like a month ago about the ending?
Yeah.
The shot of like Gwen being like, I formed my own band, and you see all the Spider-Verse people and stuff like that. That wasn't originally in the script or the finished product. As they were like shipping out the movie for like 6 weeks, they're like, all right, bring all the animators in and make this scene, which was like, it must have been like a crazy thing to do.
And that wasn't the only time they did that during production. There were multiple times, there's multiple animators who would come out and voice that, like, pretty much all of production was kind of like that. They would finish and build out entire scenes completely animated, fully rendered, and then the directors would come back and be like, no, we don't want this. We want something else. Or we want to change it. Or we want to add stuff or take things out. And they would have to go back and completely rebuild it from the ground up, which is, again, just more indicative of just like a very terrible workflow, because anybody who works in animation understands like the various stages that you have to take from, script to storyboard to animatic to close rendering to final render. All of those steps, like if you are still trying to make tweaks and changes to the story, you do that at the animatic level.
That's what happened with That's what happened with Jessica. Actually, I'm not sure if it was last month. It was something like that, like maybe last 2 to 3 months. It was like she was going to be like Jessica in the comics, like white, but then there was an older comic of the first Tactical Spider-Woman who was like a librarian, and she was black. But then they're like, okay, let's make it like this. And it's great and all, but it's like, you did not give these animators enough time. Like, they gave them like a 2 months notice, like, reanimate all her scenes. It's like, that's crazy, dude.
That is absolutely insane. For anybody watching who wants to make an animated project, don't do that to your animators. Make all your changes at the animatic stage, and even better at the storyboard phase, if you can. But again, which is why I made the comment of saying I really do hope that the animators get far better treatment in Beyond the Spider-Verse than they did in the second one, because I heard that the second one was absolutely like hell. Like, they boasted the fact that about how many animators that they hired, and this is like one of the most animators ever hired for a single project, and how that was like such a great, amazing thing. But anybody that knows anything about the film industry and how those things actually work is the reality is you could make a feature length film, which this is. It's got like a little over a 2-hour runtime, so like 122-minute long film. You can make a film like that with 50 animators. There was over 1,000 animators that worked on this project. You really actually could have made it with 50, but the difference is, had you just hired 50 animators, you would have had to have paid them a certain rate throughout the entire duration of animation. But you can save more money if you hire a bunch of animators to just animate, 2 scenes, a couple scenes here and there, or animate 1 minute. So then you have people that are literally making, chump change and the bragging rights of being able to say, hey, I worked on Across the Spider-Verse, which can be
That's cool. Yeah.
career-wise, to help you get that next job or get that next thing. But in terms of how you're actually treating the people that are working on this project, like it's not really something to boast about if you actually know the reasonings why they do these things. Like, that's a purely financial, monetary thing. It has nothing to do with we care so much about employee animators. Like, that's not what it is at all.
You hear about the thing with Mutant Mayhem, Teenage Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem? I'm not sure. I think it was Seth Rogen himself who said we want to make sure that the animators are not overworked and stuff like that. And it's they made sure it was a good working environment for them.
Shout out to Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I mean, good for that. But it's well, I do hate the praises right after kind of critiquing it. It's the animation Across the Spider-Verse is just
it's gorgeous. No one's denying the quality. The quality is there, But it's dang, when I think about what it probably took to make that, the hours, the crunch time,
I remember when I first saw it, and I saw the vulture scene of once he goes up into the thing and then he sees the city and reflects in its light. I audibly said Jesus, I had a vocal response. It was just kind of crazy. All you get to see 1,000 new Spider people, all these various designs and stuff like that. With any of the new Spider characters, were there any ones that we've mentioned Toby, but were there any other ones that really stuck out to you? Oh, I love that design, or I love that look.
Spider-Man Indy, I think, was another big one.
Oh yeah, Javier. Yeah,
that was another big one. Well, I don't know if this is cheap because he was in the last one, but he has kind of a totally different design when he was in the last one. Yellow Hera has somewhat of a different design.
Yeah.
There's a stinger there. People like Ben O'Reilly too. A lot of people like him.
Oh yeah, I did really like the way they designed it and made it look like 90s comic book.
You got some Spider-Man just 2D flat surfaces. I don't remember her regular name, but Spider Bites, the tech girl, I think.
Yes.
Her animation style is just really cool, of stuff like that. I almost forgot, they incorporated some live action with Donald Glover and Andrew Garfield and stuff like that. Who's kind of the origin of Miles, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. You created a comic book character. That's kind of cool. You know what I mean? You were the inspiration there.
Oh yeah, because of that
community.
Yeah, the community thing, the Donald Glover for Spider-Man campaign.
Yeah, it's been years since watched it, but we got that and all there's 1,000 different styles going on at once. I think and for the most, sometimes when you get a series that has all these different styles, you can tell one character was prioritized over the other, or one looks way better, but all these just almost flawlessly intercede together. Even the little video game segment we see very briefly, it's very cool.
The Lego.
Yeah, by that 14-year-old kid.
Oh my god! Shout out to that kid, man. Shout out to him. That seems amazing. I love how Miguel's "Thank you, Pete. You're one of the best." You're one of the best. In all the universes.
Have you heard of this? I'm not sure. Kind of criticism, but also just observation. I feel a lot of people make of the MCU, that the fact that there was a lot of Peter's characterization is kind of split between Ultimate Spider-Man and almost Miles's characterization he had in the comics initially. Because in the comics, his thing was that he had he went to a very special school, and his thing was that he wanted to work with superheroes like Iron Man, people above him and stuff like that, people other actual superhero status. And even his friend in the comics, Ned is a character, but he was a character from the 90s. He was Peter's college roommate. But Ned does kind of bear a resemblance, the MCU kind of bears resemblance to Genki, who's kind of like his kind of like tech kid friend.
Always got to have the guy in the chair.
Yeah, you gotta have that. Maybe Spider-Bite will be there for Miles. Was she voiced by Chick from the Bear?
No.
No.
Iowa Debris was the band member, like in Gwen's
Okay,
band.
I remember hearing her. She was in something. Like she was in this to a degree.
Does the girl who voiced Spider-Man, was she the one from who played Rue in?
Is it Amanda Steinberg? I was gonna say her.
I think it's her. I want to. I might be wrong. I think it's her.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. It's Amanda Steinberg. Yeah, because I remember. Yeah, it's like she's just killing it in the fucking animation voice acting thing. She was also April O'Neil. Yeah. She won an Emmy, or Oscar, or I don't.
An Emmy.
Yeah,
she won an Emmy and a Golden Globe.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Stuff like that. We also got. I'm curious, which antagonist do you like more in Spider-Verse 2? Spot or Miguel? I personally like Spot more because I think he's he's there more of a threat to. He has more of a relationship with Miles. I think him wanting to be a great superhero, kind of super villain to Miles, kind of reflects like a version of like all this pressure Miles' parents are putting on Miles to be something great. Mm-hmm. Like even the pressure Miles is putting on himself of like I have to be like the awesome Spider-Man.
No, I agree. I definitely think that Spot is the better villain, especially the way that we get to see his character evolve throughout the film. Him starting out as this kind of like awkward, lanky thing, and then when you get to like that scene where he's really, really imposing and essentially laying out his plan, like I really genuinely felt that moment in the theater. Like it felt legitimately terrifying when he was like, "I'm going to destroy everything you love," and it's like, oh my god. So no, I really, really do like the Spot as a main antagonist. I do think Miguel as an antagonist is interesting, especially because it's like a really interesting flip. The whole Spider Society thing and being like, oh, this guy that you thought was going to be like on your side, now you're kind of like against this guy that's like hunting you down now.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, but I would say the Spot.
Actually, I heard this from your review or take, Josh, of Miguel was kind of meant to, when you were talking to Lamar, ironically enough, he was meant to be like the kind of the bad fan reaction to like when Miles became Spider-Man. Like you're a mistake, you don't belong.
The director said that in an interview. They said that in an interview, asked them a question, and they were like, "Yep," they all said unison. Yeah, pretty quickly too.
Yeah,
definitely gave that.
Yeah,
I definitely felt that in the theater. I was like. He's like, you are a mistake. You're not supposed to be Spider-Man. I'm like, Miguel? At least I actually got bit by a spider. You're like a spider vampire.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, you need to get bit by a spider like the rest of us. If any one of us is not actually Spider-Man, it's you, Miguel.
Yeah, it's also kind of weird how 2099 isn't actually that far away right now. It's less than 100 years away. And we're nowhere near flying cars. Action scenes were incredible. In this, I love the kind of creativity and just fun they were able to have with all the Spot's action scenes, especially when they were in Mumbattan. What was it called? Like it was like a mix between like India and like very fun, very creative, and all that stuff. I like this kind of sound. Not that I like seeing teenagers getting hit, but like I like how kind of rough this movie's able to treat Miles, especially in the finale. Like after you see like kind of the damage he takes and stuff like that, like he looks bad, like he's got the torn thing, and he's exhausted, and he keeps on trying to like dodge people like from every side. Someone's like clipping him, or someone's got him. He just feels like he's barely able to get away. Was there in either of these movies, were there any like big fight or set pieces that you really liked?
Man, In Across the Spider-Verse, I really loved they're trying to attempt to save Pativar's world.
Oh yeah.
And like I thought that was like a really great set piece, how they're showing all the different Spider-Men, swing around and save the people and do all the things. I thought that was a really beautiful set piece. And Into the Spider-Verse, I mean, this is no brainer. It's the What's Up Danger scene.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, come on, just perfect. I think that's just universal. I think everybody for that scene in that moment. I'm trying to think if any other set pieces. Oh, and then, man, again, as frustrated as I am with the fact that they, gave Gwen so much runtime in exchange for Miles, I really gotta say, man, those scenes with Gwen are some of the most emotionally hard hitting. Like, the scene in the museum where her father, first catches her and, is reading her rights, and she's like, "Are you serious? Like, you're gonna do this again?" And then he shoots the gun. I'm like, oh my god!
Yeah, shot there. Yeah, it's just
when he shoots the warning shot, or even the scene when they're in their home, and they're like making up, or they're like in the middle of like having that conversation. You see it changes to like that blue, and then she runs and hugs him, and it turns pink. Like, those were some phenomenal set pieces.
It's almost like the most simple thing to say, but like just the way this movie is colored, like you can even see it with like Hobie when he turns pink around like Mayday, and Miles, like it's meant to imply he's more relaxed, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they also put like on the side like what some of the Cockney slang was using actually meant. Like, excuse me. It's like, okay. It's nice to hear Daniel Kaluuya talking his like his accent. It's supposed to like it's kind of always doing like an American accent. But it's like, Josh, was there any big set pieces that you really loved?
Let's see. In Across the Spider-Man, of course, he always had to bring up when he's being chased by all the Spider-Men, all the Spider-People. That took months and months to animate for the animators. That took forever to do that. That was a big one. What else was kind of another big one here? Across the Spider-Verse. I think, I mean, Lamar was right. I mean, the scene where they try to save Spider-Man India, his father, his girlfriend's father there. I thought that was a really good sequence there, how they did that. So that was, and then in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think the climax is really good there. I think that's really good where he fights Kingpin, all that kind of comes to a head. I like when you had the Chris Pine Spider-Man, their original Spider-Man there, and then he dies. He's fighting there, trying to handle all of those. That was a good one.
Really charming. I also kind of go back a bit. While all the music and the animation get a ton of praise, the sound design in this movie is like really incredible. Like I remember,
oh my god,
the Prowler's theme.
Oh my god.
You can actually hear like an elephant noise, like a siren in the back.
That noise. Yeah. Oh my god. Like, some of the best sound design for sure. If it didn't win an award for sound design, that is prime. Because like to the point where again it's like so recognizable. Even they do a similar thing in Across the Spider-Verse with like Miguel. It's like a little different. But being able to have a distinct sound for a character whenever they show up, like that.
I've been talking to more music people. Like music in movies, especially in animation, is a bit harder than it was in live action because there's more time to kind of like improvise with music. But like animation, everything's got to be playing, stuff like that. I think James Gunn talked about this. I think it's why Spider-Verse is his favorite superhero movie. It's like because with like animation, especially superhero movie, everything has to be set in stone. You gotta make it. And with him, like he's like, with live action you can kind of change it, but he's really impressed with how you can kind of like change movies like this. But that's another thing to praise. I feel these are very like high quality animated films. Like if anyone like said, "Hey, this is my favorite film," it's like that makes sense. I'm trying to think. Also like in the. Even when they first appeared, there's like very small differences in their themes. But like when Spider Noir appears, it has more of like like a deeper, almost like windy sound to it, to kind of like give it more of a like a school, like darker theme. Yeah, Nicolas Cage might have the best line deliveries in these movies of like,
Burn a match down to my feet.
you're gonna box, you're just gonna chew gum. Something crazy like that. I think Spider-Verse 2, it has a lot. Sorry, Spider-Verse 1 has a lot less to do, but it has a more kind of focused plot and a more kind of like almost like more of a hero's journey with Miles.
Yeah. Also more character driven.
Other characters kind of show up to kind of like, yeah, we're on this mission too. Here's a little bit of our backstory, but ultimately, like, even though you like kind of know what we're fully doing, like this is, you want to see Miles succeed a lot more in the first movie. I feel like that might just be my opinion, but like,
oh no, for sure, yeah.
It's kind of like now you have to fight 1,000 Spider-Man. It's like, it kind of loses me a bit. Like it almost gives me like sensory overload.
When the stakes become too large, it becomes like so,
But it's almost like a begrudging praise. It's like, well, I like Miles so much, and I want to see like what his, like I would be happy just seeing a movie of just like Miles dealing with family and like stuff like this, like just like maybe have like one crime chase throughout the movie or something like that. Because like his home life is just like his relationship with his dad and his mom is just like kind of like so refreshing, especially for like superhero stuff.
Yeah, like I really, really care deeply, and I think audiences also feel the same. I think it's one of the reasons why even Guardians of the Galaxy 3 being one of the more popular superhero films that came out last year. It's because I think more and more what people really want is in these genre-specific films to still have these messages and themes that still connect to our humanity, who we are as people. And these are far more interesting than like things blowing up and people trying to take over the world. It's like that stuff is cool too, but the stuff that really grounds us, the thing that really makes us connect to things as humans, is to see our lived life, shared experience as humans reflected back to us. I think that's what made Into the Spider-Verse so great. I think that's what makes it a little harder for Across the Spider-Verse, because we get that, but we get it all with Gwen. We're not getting it with Miles, who is the main character, the supposed main character. So yeah, I mean, shameless plug. But for me, that's also this particular vantage point that I always wanted to create with Captain Zero. I was like, which is why I tell people all the time, I'm kind of lying to you when I tell you this is a superhero story or a superhero show, because it's actually kind of not. All of that stuff is happening and it's going on, but it's kind of in the backdrop. The stuff that is the far more important, far more interesting, far more refreshing thing is this journey that we're going on through with Xerxes and his interpersonal life, how his depression is affecting him, his family members, how he's showing up in the world. Will he actually be able to overcome it? All those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite scene in both of these movies is the scene where it's not even an action scene, or even when there's animation, like that strong animation, but it's just when his dad, Aaron, goes to talk. No, his dad, I forget. His dad goes to talk to him after Aaron's death, and Miles is like webbed up and he can't really talk to him.
Yeah, and they're talking through the door?
Yeah, he just has to talk back. He's like, I see this spark in you, and like, I love you so much. It's just like you can just close your eyes and visualize that scene so well. And like, even if that scene was like live action, it's just such a well done, like emotional scene. With props to the guy who played the dad too.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah. No, yeah, he's another one. So I'm just trying to think, like, was he in both of them? Because I know sometimes they change actors and stuff like that. He's great in this. I remember he made I think he was like the first person to be in both a Marvel and DC movie the same year, because he was in Joker as a minor officer or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I also think I can see how kind of the comics and even games to an extent are being influenced by Into the Spider-Verse and stuff like that, because you see more of like getting more kind of like writers who either know what they're talking about or like who are more experienced, like that can like have Miles like be more of a kid and be more like feel more like an actual person from like Brooklyn and stuff like that. And it's just like it's one of those things of like when you're in such a like what we consider like the melting pot of America, basically. It's like you see all like even just like when we see him like in like downtown in like the first and second Spider-Man, just like so many like the different like shops and the different like people that work there and stuff like that, and like how kind of cliche well I'm gonna say, but like how real it kind of feels of like also that guy's like selling him like the beef patty. He's like, oh yep, I know this gas station guy. Just the like guy, a guy from our life. It's like just do something for me and you might get something for free. It's like that's like an actual person. Because it's this one of those like series where there's just so much you kind of want to talk about. Also Miles's electricity absorption. I think that might have been done in Spider-Verse 2 first. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
No, he's had his venom. I don't think they always explicitly showed it as electricity.
Well, in the comics it's like
correct, because I know he's always had the venom punch since his very first iteration. I don't know at what point did they actually start making it full blown electricity. Because again, I'm not super duper well versed on the comics.
Yeah. Well, the second one he starts to like absorb electricity, like almost like he's a bit from like going like just full stack shock and doing like all this crazy stuff, but like it's like Kool-Aid's kind of breaking away from like kind of the like how he was originally viewed as just the Peter Parker replacement or like the new Peter Parker. It's just like no, you can have, and this movie also showed that like you could have two Spider-Man like operating and not be upsetting to people of like Peter's bad and so is Miles and stuff like that. Despite the fact that like Peter's technically dead in his world, but it's like you can have those two interacting and not be super weird. And now in the comics and the games, they're showing up more and more. It's like now more people are like getting more comfortable with stuff like Miles, operating at the same time. I do remember. Did you ever see that Drake Bell Spider-Man show?
Yes.
I've seen some clips. Apparently, Donald Glover voiced Miles in that.
He voiced Miles in that. Yeah, that was the very first time.
That's cool, but it's like his name was like Kid Arachnid or something.
I hated that.
Yeah.
They're like, we can't call you Spider-Man. It's
like, screw it, call him Spider-Man. It's like, I get he's like 14, but it's like, Peter was 14 when he started. Josh, would you say that you've played the games and you've seen the movies, of course? Would you say you can notice a difference in their characters, or is there one character you like more than the other? Or
I feel like here in the movies, I think he's more fleshed out than in the games. I think it's better writing here. The games are decent. They do some good stuff there, but I think the movies are better in comparison.
I gotta give it up to his voice actor a bit of just kind of like essentially Miles. He did a very good job as Miles. I do remember there was a clip going around of like people like, why doesn't I do think the voice actor for the video game does a very good job, but there's one scene where he kind of like the last line isn't that hard of delivery because he goes like, "What?" It's Tinker. She's like, "Why do you keep on fighting?" He goes, "I am," but then he just goes Spider-Man. He just says Spider-Man. It's not like a big yell or anything like that. Funny enough, I almost had the chance to meet more at the first con I went to, but like it was right after Spider-Verse. I just saw the lie. It was way too long. Like I could not do that.
No, if he was a white woman, you would have got in front.
Oh,
I'm dead.
What was that? Like the whole didn't the second movie like parody his apology or something? Made a mistake.
The baby, the talcum powder.
Yeah. Maybe Rosa Parks shouldn't have taken an Uber. Maybe she should have just, it was cool for her to take the bus like everybody else.
Was it Grandpa Ruckus from the Boondocks who had like a beef with Rosa Parks or something?
Oh my god!
I think so.
Who's the grandpa in the Boondocks?
Granddad.
Granddad.
Yeah, Granddad.
Oh, I'm thinking of Uncle Ruckus. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember there was one plot of like the Boondocks of like Granddad had like a beef with Rosa Parks. Other than kind of the main lead, were there any like voice actors of like any of the other Spider people or like villains that you like really loved or like feel like that just nailed that character?
I mean, I think they did a great job with the casting for every character. To be honest, that's another thing I don't really have a complaint for. I think even characters that had really small roles, like Hobie, like Jessica Drew, even Miguel, I thought were all really well casted. Like I think Oscar Isaac did a phenomenal job as Miguel. Like, this is where he was supposed to be intimidating and scary. I felt scared and I felt intimidated. The same thing with I forget the name of the actor who does the voice of the Spot, but the same
Jason
for him.
Schwartzman.
Yeah, like even him, like when the scenes where he's supposed to be like goofy and not serious, I felt that got serious. So yeah, I think overall with the voice casting, I think it's very, very solid. I don't have any complaints.
It's kind of one of those things of like when you say, "Oh, what's your favorite?" You said there's kind of so much you can choose from when it comes to these movies. It's just like wow, you really just like it's like you kind of end up just picking them all in terms of love. I was gonna say I was thinking of like which came out first, the MCU. No Way Home or Spider-Verse. I remember Spider-Verse came out first. And it's cool how Spider-Verse also somewhat influenced that as well. I still like Spider-Verse more, but it's always great to see like Will Dafoe or like Alfred Molina and stuff like that.
Oh my god, Willem Dafoe in No Way Home is just my god,
true great psychopath.
Masterful. He had the black Air Forces on. He was just my god. Yeah, that performance of his just like, God. And I think he elevated everyone. He made everyone better, and that's what great actors do. Like all his scenes with Tom, when Tom's like punching him and really trying to land those punches, and he's just eating them. Like you could see the frustration in his face. I'm like, I believe it. I really do feel like you're trying to beat up a sociopath here, and it is to no avail. Like, man, no, some really, really great stuff.
I have a question. This has been somewhat of a debate ever since like the first MCU Spider-Man. But what would you guys think of like? Would you be yay or like no to like Miles potentially joining the MCU or anything live action?
Well, they said they're already doing it. Pascal, some pictures they said they're already doing it. So I mean, it is what it is at this point. I mean, I personally have very strong feelings about animated bodies of work being brought over into live action, but I knew with the character Miles that it was inevitable. I feel like to a certain extent, like if we're being honest, I feel like one of the reasons he wasn't even introduced into the MCU officially in the first place is because they were afraid. And they were kind of scared. They didn't really know if it would take off. And I feel like they intentionally used the medium of animation because nobody respects animation as being like their little tester to be like, let me see how people feel about this.
It's
like,
interesting.
We have in the comics, let's make an animated movie and let's see how people feel. And when they saw that the reaction was, the overwhelming response of praise, and they were like, oh, well, okay, well, yeah, now we can actually double down and do this for sure. But I genuinely think that's the reason why it wasn't that case to begin with.
It's interesting how the MCU like almost inadvertently forced that the team behind like Miles and Spider-Verse to like evolve to a degree of like, okay, well, we can't use this because the MCU said no or they already did this. So why don't we do our own thing? And that's kind of ends up kind of being the whole message of the first movie. Especially with Peter B. Parker, who just I still think about that one line of his lines of like, I was in my apartment, getting shredded, doing push-ups, eating pizza,
getting ripped, getting strong.
Yeah, getting strong. So for that. Yeah. Yeah, really, that's not like a whole ton to complain with the second movie. I am curious. I want like other opinions. So, like outside of Spider-Verse, what would your favorite Spider-Man thing be? Could be a comic, video game, a show.
Outside of Spider-Verse,
Spectacular Spider-Man is really good.
Yeah, it's up there for me.
Spectacular Spider-Man, man, which is why I was so happy when we got that scene across.
Oh yeah, little guy.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Spectacular Spider-Man for sure. The 1980s Spider-Man, Spider-Man the animated series. Damn. If you were to look at the first Spider-Man game, the first Insomniac Spider-Man game, as like a movie, like if you just like watch like all the cutscenes cut together as a story, I think that's honestly probably one of the better like Spider-Man movies we've ever had. Yeah, like, as a story, it's very, very solid. So I would put that first Spider-Man game as like a story, like okay, it's one of the best Spider-Man media fiction. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Those are all my head.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I mean they're all very good options. It's kind of like everyone's favorite when they talk about them. Like there's always like Spider-Verse and Spectacular Spider-Man, all that stuff.
Oh, Spider-Man 2. How could I forget?
Oh yeah, Spider-Man. Yeah.
The gold. The absolute gold that is Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2. Yes, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Oh my god.
Well, I do actually like I'd say a good like portion of the movies. Like I do still like Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. I get that it's different and all that stuff. I say my favorite kind of live action actor for Spider-Man has always been like probably Andrew Garfield. It's just like the actor when it comes to casting. Like him and 2 is kind of like what I feel like Spider-Man should like look and kind of like act and sound like and stuff like that. Kind of wish he had a better script, but yeah, I like the more kind of like almost understandably angsty reaction he has at times without going like full like dick. It's like yeah, no, because the thing is, kind of gets lost with Tom Holland's performance of this that like Peter can be kind of an asshole at times, and in the Tom Holland movie, he comes off as very like cute and soft for most of it.
I kind of like that version.
I still like it.
I like that. I think, like, I love Andrew, and I really love his performance. I think his performance as Spider-Man, when he's Spider-Man, is the most spider-like, and I'll give him that. But the one issue I've kind of always had with Spider-Man is that, like, this version of Peter Parker he's too handsome.
A bit.
It doesn't sound like a real critique, but it's like, he's too handsome. It's like, I don't believe you're Peter Parker. I don't believe somebody would beat you up and stuff you in a locker. I don't believe that.
Well, yeah, it had the problem kind of starting it in high school again. It's like, just have him be in college. Just like have him be a few years into being Spider-Man, which was always kind of a frustrating thing. Slight diversion, but like, would you say there's any like kind of more modern superhero shows you're really a big fan of, or anything like that, or superhero stuff you got really into?
Doom Patrol, Invincible, Boys. What else is modern? It's really great right now.
Animation-wise, the one I've gotten into has been, other than like Invincible, which we've talked about, was Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur.
Oh my gosh.
Animation-wise, beautiful. Actually kind of influenced kind of like my animation style, or like some of the designs when it came to like Myths of Manhattan. Just Clip Flying Bark Studios is kind of like the one thing that could kind of rival all the Spider-Verse stuff. Just like how fluid, like how cool the action scenes are, like how angular the designs are. But sense.
My Adventures with Superman. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah. Funny enough, Jack Quaid was also the Peter Parker in Gwen's universe.
Oh yeah, he's been everywhere. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
so.
Yeah, which is funny.
I love how they have his face next to Miles Morales. Like, hey, look, like he's voicing Miles Morales.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, that's why.
Yeah.
He's voicing him.
Like, that's why.
It's Jack.
Why is he right there?
Ooh, this one too.
Yeah,
wow.
Like Miles Morales. Like, oh shit, I'm voiced by a white man. What the hell?
Yeah, we're past that era when it comes to animation.
Yeah, like damn. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, he had a. Honestly, though, Jack Quaid is like Peter Parker's like that's not bad casting.
It was not at all. Not at all. Like definitely nailed the voice, nailed the characterization. Yeah, if somebody wanted to make another animated thing with Jack Quaid as voice of Peter Parker, I'd be here for.
Stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Wasn't there another superhero show? Probably not think about it right. God, this shot just wow, stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had like pretty solid cast, and like I am thinking like the more kind of like out there like takes with like I do hope like other superhero characters that are kind of more maybe started out as like B-listers or like C-listers kind of get more time to shine. 'Cause I remember even the MCU had that of like when Iron Man was first like being the thing.
Yeah, I was like a D-list character. Yeah.
In a lot of ways, now he's like one of the big like three. Because the big three used to be like Iron Man, Wolverine,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it used to be Hulk, Wolverine, Spider-Man, but now it's kind of Iron Man, Wolverine, Spider-Man. Okay, yeah, one more. Is there anyone else like Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery you're a big fan of? Like, do you have a favorite villain for him to go up against?
Favorite villain? Man, I always love me some Spidey Green Goblin action. You know, still haven't really gotten a legitimate Spidey versus Venom. We do not acknowledge that film that came out in 2007 by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
We don't acknowledge that. So we haven't really gotten a good Spider-Man Venom interaction. I would love to actually see that in live action. Man, what else really great Spider-Man villains? I mean, I think Kingpin's a really great Spider-Man villain, but obviously they're doing a bunch of other stuff with like Kingpin in the MCU right now. I love Vincent D'Onofrio's performance as Kingpin. My God, I feel like he, in the same way that Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, like I am starting to feel that way about his performance as Kingpin. I really can't see anyone else.
I actually might see Echo just because, like, even though I'm kind of like, I'm not super into MCU stuff, or it's like, I really liked him in Daredevil. Like the Echo thing looks intriguing.
Good man.
Yeah, are you reviewing that, Josh, or like?
Yeah, we did. It's editing right now, so it'll be up. Yeah, it'll be up soon.
Do you have a favorite villain for Spider-Man to go up against?
Probably basic choice, Doc Ock.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I was like interesting enough because he was just in 2, but I always really like Craven when he's like properly utilized, kind of like
not that Craven.
Yeah.
That's White Panther right there.
Mm-hmm.
White Panther.
Oh boy. Yeah, Sergei Kraftonov is just like a terrifying physical man, just like who's pushed it. He's almost like, in a weird way, he's almost like Marvel's Batman, who's just like he's just a normal man, just through sheer insanity and training has like pushed himself to like superhuman levels of physicality, and can like go up against superhumans with just like hunting weapons. Yeah, he's like also based on the Last Hunt book and like the Hunt movie. But yeah, all this like Spider-Man in a lot of ways is Marvel's Batman. Like he does have the biggest rogues gallery, and probably like the most like recognizable ones. So like I'd say maybe kind of closest like Fantastic Four to the degree, maybe Iron Man now.
Maybe. Yeah, says
Are you excited to see White
Craven movie, yeah. Who's in that?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson? What?
Russell
Why?
Crowe's in it.
Why? I would love to be a fly in the wall for the executives at Sony. I really want to know what's going on in that room. I want to know as they're looking through all of their slates of characters that they own from Marvel. They're like, how can we further continue to milk this cash cow that is Spider-Man? How can we do this? I know.
All that
Craven movie. One that doesn't feature Spider-Man. A Craven movie. Who are we going to get to play this, physically imposing, being of Russian descent? Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like,
it's Morbin time.
Yeah.
It's Morbin.
We're going down that road again.
Oh my god!
This and the whole Madam Web thing is getting weird with
what's happening?
The whole kind of Morbin time kind of lost steam when Jared Leto hopped on it and everybody's like, okay.
Oh yeah.
I was dead now.
It's dead now.
Yeah.
You hopped on it now.
Well, yeah. It's just because of the whole Spider-Man show, because they had certain rights to characters that were Craven and Madam Web and stuff like that.
Well, this has to do with the initial deal that they struck back in the 90s when Marvel they sold off all of their characters. Yeah. They only recently reached that agreement with the character Spider-Man itself.
Yeah, very recently.
Joint custody between them and Disney. But yeah, there's still a couple of the other characters from Spider-Man's universe that Sony still has the rights to. And the way that those rights work is basically after a certain amount of years, if they don't put out a movie with them, then the rights revert back. Mm-hmm. So I guess Craven was one of those things on the list. So they were like, hurry up, let's make that Craven movie so we can hold on to those Craven rights.
Yeah.
And to what avail? I don't know. Are they thinking it would be a kind of Venom situation where it would be people like this character? Maybe it's
that has Tom Hardy.
Venom is a popular character. I don't really like him, but he is very popular. So it made sense to kind of turn him into a movie, but then all these other people, like Adam Webb, nobody knows who Adam Webb is.
Yeah. It's yeah, it does feel like one of those legal disputes. Yeah, it's just, it's just nuts.
And of all the characters in it, my thing is, it just feels like if you're gonna make all of these D-list, F-list characters, and make them, into their own movies, at least do it from an interesting vantage point.
Yeah. Well, now they're making a Danny Phantom live action.
I heard about it. I hate it.
Yeah.
Oh, are they? I thought that was just that's real.
No, it's actually happening. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Well, it's also what is he? He's 14 in the show, and it's casting that to live action is going to look.
Why? Why does no one respect the medium of animation? I just want to know why. Yeah, why?
Well, they made was it Kim Possible live action?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Why? Who's asking for this?
It's probably a legal dispute with Disney.
That's what I'm what is it? What is it? It's got to be something. Because what is it?
They were gonna make live action Powerpuff Girls. I got canned.
Oh yeah,
they did because it was because fortunately someone had the good sense to look back at that footage and go, you know what? This is terrible. Yeah, this is a bad idea. We should not do this.
Anyway, we're gonna wrap up soon, but before I just want to ask you a few questions, Lamar, about your series Captain Zero. I'm just curious. Would you say there was a superhero that influenced Captain Xerxes, or was there did anything influence? Was there a Spider-Man influence, or when it came to the animation stuff when it comes to series?
Oh yeah, 100%. When it comes to the character Captain Zero itself, there's undeniable Spider-Man influence in there directly. Growing up, Spider-Man was always one of my favorite characters. Spider-Man 2 is the first movie I ever saw in theaters. The first Spider-Man was the first movie I ever watched on a DVD. And Spider-Man the animated series was a show I loved watching growing up every single Saturday. So there's definitely a huge, undeniable Spider-Man influence. I mean, Miles aside, in all honesty, I kind of looked at Captain Zero as kind of being like, what if Peter Parker was black? And I mean, no shade to Miles, but even because of the people who write Miles and the fact that he's in, PG-13 movies and whatnot, there still is a certain kind of limit as to how Miles can depict his blackness in certain level. So what I've always wanted to create with Captain Zero is a true, honest portrayal of this is actually what a black Peter Parker would look like. This is what his day would be like. This is what he would go through. This is what he would experience. Because there are certain things that, Peter Parker, in his particular experience, that would be, different if it was happening to like a black kid.
Oh no, yeah, totally.
The hate that J. Jonah Jameson gives Spider-Man would be a very different kind of hate. If he was a black kid and you knowingly that he was black, it would be a very different kind of hate. So these are all the things that I kind of want to showcase, and not just that, but also just how that lived life experience would be different, how his home life would be different, how his relationship with his friends would be different. All of those kinds of things. So Spider-Man, definitely yes. Static Shock, as well. I also grew up watching that show. Super big influence, especially with just being able to see myself, my lived life experience reflected. I was like, holy shit, there's a show where a black kid is the main superhero. Like, he's not like the sidekick or like the little side character or like the person saying like, oh, hell no, like randomly. Like, it's actually his show and his story. And there's depth to it. There's nuance to it. And I absolutely love that. So Static Shock, 100%. Those are probably like the two biggest. Like, I said just on Twitter like the other day, like Static, like what Daredevil is to the Ninja Turtles is what Captain Zero is to Spider-Man.
Okay, that's a really cool.
But like that's pretty much the way that I look at everything involving this world. Even if you kind of look at like Captain Zero's Rogues Gallery, it's like some of these characters are almost very similar analogs to other Spider-Man villains, but just in a way that's more specific to this character in their world. Like if you see the character Local Florida Man, who you can make interesting parallel to like the Lizard, but like Captain Zero actually lives in Florida. So it's like there is already a deeper connection as to why there's this giant purple alligator looking monster that's terrorizing his city versus Spider-Man who like lives in New York. Like sometimes he talks about Dr. Connors visiting or having coming back from Miami or the Everglades, but like in Captain Zero, it's like he lives in Florida. Like that's actually something you would see and encounter. So to have a villain like that in his Rose Gallery makes more sense actually.
Oh no, yeah, totally. Yeah, you totally get that. What's definitely pushed. It's just for a while, New York just had that dominance over the superhero scene, just because of like back then, like it was considered kind of like lower work at the time. That's why like there's like a lot of like Jewish influence when it comes to both like superhero stuff, but also specifically like older films and Broadway. And like this, like once you realize like the history of it, like that makes such a sense. But it's like you want to see more stuff now, especially that like. The field is more like open. It's just not like people from the 30s and stuff like that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the benefit of indie animation stuff. Oh yeah, have you ever thought of like hiring like if you do go to like hire more actors? Do you ever think of like getting like a Bill Burr to just yell at Captain Zero and say something like just really mean?
Oh my god! Oh yes, 100%. And that's actually. That was actually a perfect casting choice. Yeah. I would 100% get someone like Bill Burr to be like my
nice
version
fucking
of
costume or something.
Like that would be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, totally. And it's like one of those things how you just want to like both see yourself, but also just like see different aspects that don't really get represented too much in certain degrees, like especially in like kind of superhero stuff. And it's all, I was going to say, would you say that there's obviously you have Captain Zero and you have Keith Davis, the Depression Demon. Do you have like a villain or a character you think is going to be like the big standout? Because I've seen some arts that you've made for some of these characters. Oh yeah. No, I've seen the blue chick.
Oblivion.
Yeah, Oblivion.
Yes, listen, Oblivion. I know 100%. Like she didn't really, like, you get to see her in part one. There's this little scene where you get to see her where he's describing some of the shit he has to go through. But in this part two, you're actually going to see Oblivion. You're going to hear Oblivion. There's a whole interaction. There's a whole fight sequence that happens between the two of them. And when people see Oblivion, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that everyone will become like the biggest Oblivion stans. Like she 100% is going to stand out as one of those characters. I know, like I just feel it in my bones because she's one of those characters. Just like, man, if you hate her, you love to hate her, but there's also a part of you that kind of feels like
you understand.
She's not wrong though. Like you feel where she's coming from, you know?
Yeah. You got a incredible standout cast of like you got the Keith Davids, Colby Galloway, all this stuff, and it really shows that like
Briggs, Mary Toro, yeah.
You can definitely see some of the. Well, of course, there's only so many designs you can do, especially if you want to do like an animal design of like kind of the more weirder bug themed villains that Spider-Man has. Of like what is it, the beetle that he has? It's like, you can totally see that here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you designed the majority of these characters, correct?
I designed all of them.
Yes. Keith David, which is probably a big enough draw for most people.
Yeah. Like, 100%. Anytime honestly, both Keith and Angelica, everyone has their own pool. It's very interesting. Like, everyone has, like, their own, little fan base. Like, there's a whole bunch of, like, Wu-Tang Clan people that were really excited when we told people that we have Zoli, doing the voice of Butterfly. A whole bunch of Final Space fans who were really, really excited when we told them that we have Coty.
Yeah, Coty's great.
A whole lot of Pose and FX fans, and lots of members of the LGBTQ plus IA community when we announced that we had Angelica on, and then Keith, like, that just pretty much brought in like all the animation people, all like the film world. Like, that was definitely one of the biggest draws, and even helping out the show in other respects. Like, the minute we tell interested buyer, funder, financer, producer, we're like, oh yeah, we've got Keith David. Like, Keith David? Yeah. I'm like, yes, that Keith David.
It's one of those things where, like, when you hear it, you're like, oh shit, Keith David. Like, he's in here. I love that drawing. And wrong one. Your Kickstarter was successful. Do you want to point out any merch people can buy to support you?
So our merch site is actually currently down right now. The reason why is because we're actually getting ready to Kickstarter. And that's going to be to raise the funds for our film festival run we're pretty much going to go on. It's going to start in June and carry all the way into the end of the year. We're going to be going to 7 different film festivals. And obviously we're going to want to bring the cast, as many that are available and want to come. We're also going to try to bring a couple of our crew members as well. And, pretty much everyone that is able to go that worked a part of this project. I know that because of various touring schedules and stuff like that, we're not going to be able to bring everyone, but I know at least for the premiere, which is going to be in June, we want to try to bring as much of the cast and crew as we can. So we're going to have a second Kickstarter that's going to be raised significantly less than what our first one was. The first one was to raise $35,000. We raised $36,000, which is crazy. This one's going to be for $10,000. So a whole lot less. But with that money, we're going to be able to, go to all these different places. We're going to be in New York, LA, Chicago, Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, and France.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Going to their short film festival.
Yeah. Might be able to see this in Chicago if I have enough time.
Oh man, no, I would love for you to pull up to be able to see it, because we're not going to be able to put it anywhere publicly for a while.
No, I get that.
Even right now, because of everything we're doing with the film festivals. So we are doing a thing where if people want to see it while we are on our run, 1 week before our debut in June, we are having a private virtual screening. So anybody that buys tickets for that. So that is actually on my website. If you go to the homepage, you can go there and you can buy tickets for the virtual screening. And then we're also going to have that exact same reward tier available for our second Kickstarter. So you can either go to my website or on the second Kickstarter once we get that launched. That's going to launch in February. But yeah, we've got the date, time, and everything. It's going to be like a whole special little soiree. It's going to be me. It's going to be my co-writer, Andre Enko. We're going to start off with a little introduction, give a little backstory as to the overall production process, what it took to make it. Then we're going to run it for everyone to show. We're probably going to play it twice because anytime we do these things, people always want to see them twice. So we're probably going to play it twice. And then after that, we're going to do a Q&A and open it up to the audience. And anyone who has questions can ask us questions about what it was like on the production process, the show, or the future of the series, and all of that jazz.
Alrighty. Yeah, that's very cool. I'm just going to bring up one thing really quick before we end this. Our Miss Manhattan thing is going along very, very well. Hopefully, after some contracts are finished, as well as like our Animax a bit more done, we'll be able to fully present the pilot Animax form. This was influenced by series such as Static Shock and Danny Phantom, but more from a girl's perspective of a girl of Russian descent living in New York, having to deal with magical aspects. Part of the goal of the series is to kind of explore more. We'll also present fun magical adventures. It's also to explore more like Slavic themes and Eastern European cultures as well. Kind of the things being mixed. In the meantime, let me just get to
this animatic is really solid.
Oh yeah. Me and my buddy Kevin were working on this really close. The benefit was that originally the script was to be for a graphic novel. However, sadly, the person I was working with as a graphic novel, she got sick. And, family business came out, she wasn't able to continue it, but we were able to work off that. And yeah, also I don't remember even how we met, but I do remember as we met, we started talking about stuff like Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Moon Girl, and we just hit off that animation wise. And in the meantime, our Howling Hoods is nearly complete. We have a few more shots to do. A little out of context there to see a Birdman and a weird demon guy. But yeah, hopefully stick around. You'll be able to see the whole thing soon. If you mix and matches of fairy tales as well as different a couple basically just working stuff out on their own adventures. Make sure to tune into that. For the most part, this is self-funded. We are going to do a very, very, very small Kickstarter soon, but with some of the stuff I've been doing, I've been able to get this more funded. Stick around for that. Lamar Chair, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks for
likewise. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your projects, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And thanks for talking about Spider-Man. All right, have a good one, folks.
All right, you guys.